So let's start with this first statement where this lactation consultant claimed babies can't swallow air. That's not a thing.
Hey, Mama Bear. Welcome to the Breastfeeding with Confidence podcast. Do you dream of bonding with your baby through exclusive breastfeeding, but worry about breastfeeding pain or low milk supply? Maybe you're struggling with breastfeeding and no one seems to have any answers. I'm Jamie, doula, international board certified lactation consultant and mom of 5, and I have been where you are. After working through painful latches, milk supply worries, and postpartum depression, and supporting countless mothers through their breastfeeding journeys for over 8 years, I'm here to tell you breastfeeding doesn't have to be perfect to be positive. Each week, I'll share breastfeeding tips to help you prevent and overcome unexpected breastfeeding challenges so you can actually enjoy bonding with your baby. If you are ready to shut out the toxic whispers of the world, embrace your God-given intuition, and release your inner fierce mama bear, grab some coffee or your favorite herbal tea and let's dive in.
Hello. Today I am coming on here live because there has been a little bit of drama in the breastfeeding space. A really big account made an Instagram post yesterday sharing a podcast episode that got a little spicy. And I want to be very cautious about how I discuss this because I don't want to feel like I am contributing to drama, but there was a lot of misinformation that I feel has to be cleared up. And a lot of you have sent me messages based off the comments and the reel I made, the comments that I made on the original post, talking about why there was misinformation and how important that misinformation is. So I really want to just answer some of those questions that I got here. If you don't know who I am, if you're new here, I'm Jamie. I am an international board certified lactation consultant, licensed practical nurse, birth doula, and a mama 5. And I have been breastfeeding for almost 10 years since my oldest was born, and not one child, 5 kids. I just realized the way I said that sounded like I was breastfeeding my kid for 10 years. I've been breastfeeding for almost a total of 10 years. I have been supporting mothers through their breastfeeding journeys for about 8 to 9 years. And I can tell you with full confidence, there are a lot of very popular courses, very popular creators who are pushing misinformation about breastfeeding. It is damaging, it is frustrating, and I try to have grace because a lot of things change. Things change all the time. And sometimes things that I used to promote a lot, now I look at and I'm like, maybe we shouldn't promote that so much. And I'm totally cool with things changing and evolving and advice changing. But there are some things that are really important. And on this account yesterday, in this post, this person shared a statement saying that babies can't swallow air, that it's not a thing. I had one of you message me telling me that you were really upset about this because you listened to the podcast, and in the podcast, the host had kind of made a statement like, oh, well, babies can swallow air and that can lead to tummy issues. And the lactation consultant from a group called the Thompson Method, which is a breastfeeding course, is known for being more infant-led, instinct-led, which are all good things. She made the statement that babies can't swallow air. That's not a thing. Just like that. Simple, not a thing, can't be done. And apparently this podcast host completely changed her mind on everything she thought she knew, because that's what she has said in her posts. And then she keeps repeating this statement over and over and over, saying babies can't swallow air. This is what she's using to gain traction for her post. And that's really concerning to me because it's clickbaity. You know, people see that and they're gonna be like, what do you mean babies can't swallow air? That's not a thing, really? Because my baby's swallowing air. Now I need to listen to this. And they're getting fed a bunch of misinformation. That's really concerning. So I'm going to talk about a couple points that were made during these posts and this conversation. I just want to address a couple things that I think are dangerous misinformation. If you are a mother of a breastfed baby or you are planning to breastfeed, you need to be aware of people who are saying these things. Consultant, her name is Rachel. I can't remember her last name. I apologize for that. She is an IBCLC associated with the Thompson Method course. The Thompson Method was created by Robin Thompson, who is, I believe, an Australian midwife. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that. I do believe that she is not a lactation consultant herself. They take a much more holistic approach to breastfeeding, which I am all for. I'm for instinct-led, infant-led, getting back to physiology, focusing on how God designed this to work. And that is all so important. But when we get so caught up in that we are denying there can be other factors at play, we have a big issue. So let's start with this first statement where this lactation consultant claimed babies can't swallow air. That's not a thing. I just want everybody to pause for a half second. How many of you have been to a college party or anything where you chugged a beer? A lot of us have, and we all know what happens. You swallow air. You don't have to chug a beer. You could chug anything, and you have the potential for swallowing air. You can just swallow your drink the wrong way, and you're coughing and choking, and you burp. Everybody knows that it is possible to swallow air. We do it. Babies are human beings, so they can do it. If a baby has perfect oral function, they shouldn't be swallowing air when they are nursing. If they are swallowing air, that is a sign of some kind of oral dysfunction that needs to be uncovered and addressed and investigated. That, maybe it's happening once or twice, no big deal. If it's happening consistently and your baby's in consistent pain, and then yes, it's a thing. There's a medical term for this. It's called aerophagia. It means literally the ingestion or the eating of air. If that's not a thing that babies can do, why would human beings of all kinds do it on a daily basis? It's very upsetting to me when people act like infants are not just tiny humans. They are tiny humans that can be imperfect. They are tiny humans that feel pain, have feelings, can have nervous system dysregulation. They can swallow air. It's that simple. This leads to another statement that was made in the post. And I will admit, I have not listened to the podcast yet. I'm very hesitant to listen to the podcast itself because I don't want to give them any extra downloads, if I'm being completely honest with you, because even if certain statements were taken out of context just for social media, it was done in a way that was to draw in attention and to be clickbaity, and that it's unethical and shady to me. So it makes me really sad to see that that's how it was used. So if somebody comes in here and says, Jamie, you're taking this out of context, that's not how it was said in the podcast, I apologize for that. However, I think that is just as problematic, that we're going to take things out of context to gain attention and traction and stir up drama. That's my little spiel on that. Anyway, this leads into the next statement that was made, basically saying tongue tie isn't the problem, latching is the problem. And babies aren't latching right with common techniques and everything. It's like, well, yeah, but no. What kind of nonsense is this? On a surface level, I will 100% agree with that idea that babies are not being taught to latch right. That's why I have latching guides that walk you back from everything you were taught in the hospital and teaches you how to work with your baby. Because a lot of the conventional breastfeeding methods are not based on infant-led feeding, instinct-led feeding, and working with yours and your baby's design. Learning how to work with our designs to make breastfeeding easier and more natural is so important. And I am glad that the Thompson Method brings attention and awareness to that. However, that's not the end-all be-all. We can implement all these techniques to get us back to instinct-led feeding, to work with our babies the way they were physiologically designed. I'm all for that, and we can do all that. But some moms still struggle. In my experience, what happens is these moms are still struggling, and they're doing everything these lactation consultants from the Thompson Method told them to do. What happens is these moms come to us after being taught all these techniques, and they're like, look, I'm doing all the things. I'm working with my baby the way they are designed. I'm doing the skin to skin. I'm turning the lights down low. I'm doing everything to promote oxytocin. I still have milk supply issues. My baby's latch still hurts. According to this method, I've done everything right. I must be broken. What's wrong? And that's so frustrating. We're going to be sitting here promoting support and understanding and having moms follow their instincts and everything. And then when that approach, like, y'all know me, I'm holistic. I'm crunchy. I am very crunchy. I am as crunchy as they come in a lot of ways. But we still need to have wisdom with that. And so if we are just sitting there like, oh, we're going to be super hippy dippy and we're just going to make everything super peaceful and connective and work on latching with our baby skin to skin in the dark, those are all great techniques until they're not, until there's something more going on. And we need to listen to moms when they're telling us something more is going on. So if we've already done all these things to fix the latch and it's not working, we need to dig deeper. And sometimes that means there's a tongue tie that is identified. Tongue ties are a thing and they impact latching. We cannot say things like tongue ties aren't the problem, latching is. The two go hand in hand. And any lactation consultant, yo, I'm so sorry. I'm getting fired up, but I am so tired of moms being gaslit by people who say like, oh, we should stop gaslighting moms. We should listen to moms. But oh, guess what? Your baby's not latching well. You're in pain. Oh, that's a latching problem. That's not a tongue tie problem. What do you think causes latching problems? There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that cause latching problems, and tongue ties are one of them. Not every baby who has latching problems has a tongue tie, but just about every baby I see that has a true tongue tie has some kind of latching issue. Now, whether it's an obvious latching issue or one that somebody who's well trained in oral function identifies, there's always some kind of latching issue. And that's where we circle back to this air swallowing. If you've done everything right and you're still having trouble with feeding your baby, and you think they're swallowing air, and somebody tells you that's not a thing, run, 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 run far, far away. Run far away. Aerophagia is a huge contributor to colic-like symptoms because it really hurts in your belly when you swallow air. It's simple as that. That being said, aerophagia is not the only thing that contributes to colic. See, breastfeeding and wellness in general, but especially breastfeeding, it's like all these puzzle pieces, and they all come together to make breastfeeding work well. And when one little puzzle piece is out of place, or somebody's got it in their pocket, and you don't even have the board, the picture to know what your puzzle is supposed to look like, it can feel really, really hard. And it is really hard when we do not have all these puzzle pieces coming together. And most of us don't know what all these little puzzle pieces to look for even are, right? Like, you don't even know what this picture is supposed to look like. You're being told this is normal. So all of this excitement and frustration is to say that post created a lot of clickbait, a lot of drama. And I'm really sad to see that creator seems to be just basking in the engagement, taking screenshots of it, throwing it up in stories, saying things like, oh my gosh, the comment section is on fire. What do you think? Drop a poll. It's not about opinion. I'm going to tell you this right now. This is not about opinion. It's not about, do you believe in tongue ties? It is not about, do you believe that babies are capable of swallowing air? It's basic, simple science. And this is why people do not take holistic, crunchy moms seriously, because there are entities out there spewing absolute garbage, convincing these moms who are already skeptical of the medical system. I'm skeptical of the medical system too. That's why I work in private practice, because I believe in answering to you, not a corporate entity. But we still have to have some discernment. We cannot go so far off in this crazy direction that, oh, we're holistic minded, so there's no such thing as medical complications ever when it comes to breastfeeding. I really, really wish that breastfeeding was supernatural, and that if we just did everything right and had a perfect birth and had a perfect golden hour and skin to skin and kept the lights dim and stayed in bed for 5 days, 5 weeks, that I really wish all of that would line us up for perfect breastfeeding. But that's just not reality. It's not reality because there are so many other factors at play. Those things are all good. They are all good things. They are all important things, but they are not the only thing. So if we're telling moms who had these perfect, amazing, beautiful births that because they had a perfect, amazing, beautiful birth, and that because they had no medical intervention, and because they don't see doctors, and because they are at home And because XYZ and all these holistic, intuitive, natural things, that breastfeeding is going to be easy, that sets them up for failure. So I'm just going to come back to, yes, babies can swallow air. Any professional who tells you otherwise is a walking, talking, waving red flag, period. Anybody who tells you that tongue ties are not a contributor to latching problems, red flag. Anybody who acts like everything is one size fits all, whether that is one size fits all medical interventions or a one size fits all holistic approach, red flag. There is no one size fits all. There's no one size fits all in breastfeeding. Every mother and baby deserves to be treated as an individual, and they deserve to be guided by somebody who understands oral function. If you are a professional listening here, and you are working with breastfeeding diettes, and you do not have a deep, thorough understanding of oral function and what oral function deficiencies look like, I need you to do one of two things. Be humble enough to get further education, or be humble enough to take a seat and take a step back. None of us know everything. We all have room to learn. I am learning so much every day. Like, I am constantly continuing my education from different sources, not one set source, because I don't think we get the best, well-rounded information when we do that. We need to have insight from different perspectives. And that's how we can develop really wonderful care for our patients. And if you are a mom listening to this, I know it can feel so difficult to find support that listens, because you can have support that really cares and is super compassionate but has no idea what they're talking about. On the other hand, you can have care that sounds like they know what they're talking about but have no compassion. It's really hard to navigate the support systems out there. I feel for you because I have been there. I know how that feels. I know how difficult that is. But if you are a holistic-minded mom who really tries to avoid over-medicalizing things, and you really want to lean into your intuition, it is really imperative that you are cautious enough to make sure you're not finding people who are preying on that. I just wanted to, again, remind you that we need to be really, really cautious where we're getting our information from. I want you to question everything. I want you to question me. I want you to question me, and I will always be as transparent and honest with you as I can. I really like the account that shared all of this. I really always liked that account. I didn't always agree with everything they said, but I could respect a lot of what they said, a lot of their intention, a lot of where this came from. I'm really disappointed to see this messaging coming from that account. I'm really disappointed to see that it was framed as we're debunking misinformation while they were sharing and spreading more disinformation. We have a responsibility, and I feel like that responsibility was not handled appropriately. When people questioned this in the comments, instead of having any kind of response, the message was repeated over and over in the next post, in the next post. And then the stories are like, well, we're stirring up trouble. Isn't this crazy? What do you think? And I understand content creation. I understand how marketing works, but I also understand that we are dealing with a vulnerable population here. And it is really important to make sure that we're sharing good information. And this account did not share good information. I let her know privately and publicly. As for those of you who reached out to me, I hope that this clarified where I stand on a lot of this. In the comments, I did say I don't necessarily support this method because they give a lot of half information, half truths, and lack of nuanced care. I have been asked, well, what does that mean? Can you elaborate on this? This is the elaboration that I can give. Just the simple statements made in those social media clips are evidence enough that they do not have a full understanding of breastfeeding, but yet they are promoting themselves as experts. It's concerning. I think they have a wonderful approach to teaching moms how to breastfeed when mom and baby are both healthy and everything is straightforward. But the minute things become difficult, it just gets painted as You need to just keep trying what we told you already. There's no nuance, no individualized care there. We're always going to try the simple things first, right? That's why in the guides that I teach you, my Fix Your Latch guide walks you through reflex-led latching. It walks you through instinct-based breastfeeding. It teaches you how to work with your baby, with your body, with God's design first. That's always what we're going to do first. We're never going to jump to saying, oh, your baby can't latch, there's a tongue tie. We're never going to jump to anything like that, ever. However, when we're seeing that these techniques and changing these approaches and getting back to the basics is not working, we do need to start looking deeper at those things. That's why my Fix Your Latch guide is not an end all be all. And I tell moms that. I'm like, this is a starting place. This is a place to start. It helps a lot of people whose babies are healthy, who the mom is fully healthy, and they just were taught really crappy things. It helps those moms. But the moms who continue to struggle despite those things also know that they are doing all the things right. And it's not that they're broken, it's that they need more support. They need to start doing that investigation to find that root cause. I want you guys to know that we always want to go back to those basics. We always want to focus on instincts and reflexes, but sometimes things are not right and they need to be addressed. And we need to address them systematically. There is an order for how we address those things. It is never rushing to a tongue tie release. There are so many people who are anti-tongue tie release, who are anti-tongue tie, who don't believe in tongue ties. And the reason for that could be a whole other conversation, because there is so much misinformation about tongue ties, and there are people who rush straight to that, and that is a problem. But we cannot fix that problem by going the opposite direction and saying, oh, it's overdiagnosed, blah, blah, blah. You need to know that tongue tie releases do work when they're needed. And we need to peel things back and eliminate things to make sure it is needed. We don't want to rush into tongue tie releases ever. And Lisa Palladino from the Tongue Tie Experts joined me last week. We talked about that. I have tongue tie episodes where we talk about that. We don't ever want to rush right into that. But the first things we're always going to do is go back to those basics. Teach you how to work with your instincts, even though the hospital didn't. Like, yeah, of course, that's obvious if that's what we're going to do. But what about when that doesn't work? Are we just going to let moms think that they're broken and not tell them their baby has a tongue tie? Are we going to start addressing the tongue tie and address, guys, there's so much to address. I talked with Megan Beams from, oh gosh, I'm like drawing a blank on her business name right now, but she is a craniosacral therapist in Canada and she trains other craniosacral therapists. And we talked about how tension can play a huge role in latching issues, the different causes of that tension and how that can be expressed in your baby. And we're always going to address that before we jump to tongue tie. We need to look at these things. There is a systematic step-by-step approach that needs to happen. We cannot just say, oh, well, tongue ties aren't a thing. We can't just say swallowing air isn't a thing. It is a thing. It's not up for debate. Why are we debating this? It's not up for debate. They are things. They do negatively impact breastfeeding. They do contribute to colic-like symptoms. I'll do a whole other conversation on colic another time. It's not a belief system. It's not up for debate. They exist. Mothers, raise your hand if you know it exists because you are or have experienced it. Why are these people who claim to be here for mothers, who claim to be like trying to like buck this system and who apparently, allegedly claim to not believe in gaslighting mothers, gaslighting them by saying things like, oh, no, they can't swallow air. That's not a thing. You think that's a thing? That's not a thing. What kind of crazy lady are you thinking your baby's swallowing air? Probably a freaking smart one. The crazy people are the ones saying that it's not a thing. So I'm clearly getting emotional and not saying anything new. So I'm going to sign off. But yeah, y'all, there is support out there. There is support that is holistically minded and understands the medical side of things and can blend those two together for you so that you can make confident decisions from that place where the information and the intuition collide. You want to know more about colic? I will have to do another episode on that. I'll have to come talk to y'all about colic another time. But guys, you can make confident decisions, but you need to have access to information. And there are people out there who are going to withhold information from you because it doesn't fit within their belief system, whatever that is. My philosophy is always, I'm going to give you all of the information. You're going to need to weigh that with your intuition, and then you can make confident decisions. I will tell you when I have biases as well. I will tell you, like, this is what some people say. This is what others say. There's no consensus. This is what I feel based off what I've seen. However, I'm not going to say that it is fact. So, there's different ways to come at these things. We're all human. No provider is perfect. I know I make mistakes, and I do my best to correct those mistakes and own those mistakes and go on to learn more. I don't dig my heels in the sand and pretend that basic science is a belief system. In the holistic world, science has become a dirty word. And it shouldn't be. Those of us who question the system have a visceral reaction to the word science because so many people use science as a weapon. But science really is about questioning things and collecting data points and then questioning again and collecting more data points. And when it comes to breastfeeding and it comes to tongue ties and it comes to whether or not babies can swallow air, all of the science, all of the data points to, yes, this is a thing. How do we apply that information? That's going to vary based off provider. If you have any questions, go ahead and DM me because I cannot just keep ranting on this. If you are the creator that I am talking about in this post and you want to have a conversation about this, I would be happy to have a conversation about it. If you are a lactation consultant who does not believe that infants can swallow air, if you are a lactation consultant who believes that tongue ties are causing latching issues, I want to talk with you. I want you to explain why you feel this way. I'd love to have you on the podcast to share your perspective with moms because I think it's important for people to hear different perspectives and make decisions for themselves once they hear the conversations. So if you are those people, please, let's chat. I'd love to chat, and I do mean that genuinely.
All right, Mama Bear, that is a wrap for today. If this episode helped you feel a little more confident or a little more prepared for breastfeeding, can I ask you a quick favor? Go ahead and leave me a review. It helps other moms find this podcast and join us in this amazing community of fierce and confident mama bears. And hey, if you know a friend who could use some encouragement or real talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, and all things motherhood, share this episode with her. You've got this, Mama Bear. Trust your instincts, stay fierce, and I'll catch you in the next episode.